Hello, I'm horceror. I want to find out what makes every single killer tick. There's one big glaring issue with that though. I play the Nemesis, essentially only the Nemesis. I physically cannot get thousands of hours of experience on every single character. So, I'm going to be interviewing people that do have those thousands of hours. One for every single killer. Welcome to Stars of the Fog. Alright, hello and welcome back to Stars of the Fog. Today's killer is one that is considered an angel to some, demons to others, the Cenobite. My guest here today is one of the most prolific Cenobite players out there, the one who basically perfected box logic, has made plenty of guides on the situation, FieldAgentReaper. Now, my dignified guest, who are you? What are you known for? What are your credentials? And why Cenobite?
Hello, my name is FieldAgentReaper, longtime DVD player, been playing since around the time nerfs got added, and made DVD my main video game, especially with content around the time that Ghostface came out, when it also came to Game Pass on Xbox. After a while, obviously, I switched back to PC when I actually could build my own PC. Well, I guess I could say the deal is, I guess the main reason I just love playing Pinhead is, one, I just find the killer really fun, just very satisfying for me. I also just love the Hellraiser series. Pinhead has always been a super cool design, or just all the Cenobites in general. Obviously, Pinhead just being the most well-known one. He's just really fun for me. I don't know why, just a killer that really clicked with me. Obviously, when he first came out, I wasn't very good at him, but he was a killer that I just continued playing, and I just felt very comfortable playing him, and that's kind of why I decided to main him. I've had many mains, actually, over the years. My first main was Ghostface. I guess you could say before that, in the early days, when I only played DVD a little, I guess it was Billy, but obviously he got nerfed for many years, and then I would decide to be a Ghostface main when he came out, but he sucked. And then there was Slinger, and then they nerfed him, and then there was Pyramid Head, and then I got tired of people W keying, and then there was Pinhead, and yeah, that's kind of just where I've permanently landed at this point. So, and yeah, we just click. Me and the killer just click. He's a killer I've enjoyed learning how to play and making content. I've made tons of content on him, and people seem to just really enjoy that. He's a killer that I feel is over the years has been very misunderstood. Obviously, a lot of people don't really like playing against him because I think they just don't understand how to play against him. He's not a common killer, but he's also not like, a top tier killer. So you kind of just get this weird misconception, where people, he's a very love-hate relationship. You either find people who love versing him or they just hate. You don't really get someone who's like indifferent, because it's either he's just fun or he's just not fun. So I decided to make a lot of content on him to try to bridge that gap a little bit, show people what he's capable of, that he's actually better than what a lot of people think, because a lot of people think he's also kind of trash, but obviously I completely disagree with that. So yeah, that's kind of just my little introduction.
Yeah, it was a pretty good one. I mean, I personally, when I play Survivor, I do enjoy playing against Pinhead, just because, sometimes I get bored of cranking the gens, and I wanna kick the killer's ass. So I go tickle his little box, I say, come chase me, please, and then I get ignored for the rest of the game, so...
Yeah, no, I'm the same way in Survivor. When I get a Pinhead, I get very excited because I don't want to do the gens. I just want to go and take the box and solve it and make him come over to me or make him chase me. Or if he doesn't want to chase, then obviously you're just disabling the strongest aspect of his kit. So you're making it easier for teammates to play around him. And obviously I have so much experience with his M2 that I really understand what you're supposed to kind of do. The kind of bobbing and weaving you're supposed to do when you're playing against someone. You can really fake people out, and a lot of people second guess themselves when they're using the power, so you can really kind of mess with them. And because you really don't get like these god tier Pinheads all that often. I know they're out there, I almost never get them. So it's kind of easy to bully a Pinhead, to be honest. He's a very easy to bully killer
for now, at least, because now that people can't buy him, there's not really going to be any new Pinheads coming in.
That's true. That is very true. Yeah, I guess that's something else I should mention. That's that's something I get asked all the time, is like, oh, what is my thoughts on him leaving the game? And I'm like, well, I'm very sad. Obviously, he's an iconic killer. he's he's one of the OGs. So, that's like if we lost, Myers or Bubba or Freddy, like these are very well-known characters in horror media. So it's very disappointing to see him go. And it kind of sucks that Clive Barker just doesn't want Pinhead in video games, and that's why he didn't continue to renew the license with Behavior. And I'm assuming that whatever license was originally agreed upon, once that ran out, that was it. So obviously Behavior, they requested it. Well, it must have been like a 4-year contract. They said, yeah, we'd like a 4-year contract. And obviously when that ran up, that was it, because Clive didn't want to bring it back, which is very disappointing. Obviously, it's the whole situation with him coming to the game is very sad. I just think it's a very missed opportunity to try to, work it out. But obviously Behavior didn't see Clive ever wanting to work with them. So that's kind of why they jumped on the bandwagon in the first place. Which I get, which honestly, we wouldn't have Pinhead if they hadn't done that. So honestly, at the end of the day, I'm like, you know what? Good job, Behavior.
At least happy that he was here, even though he's not anymore.
Yeah, it's very sad, especially since there's about to be so many new players coming into the game. Any of them that are Hellraiser fans, they're just not going to be able to get them. I mean, technically you can, but let's be real. Most people that are smart are not going to spend $200, because I think that's what I heard they're going for right now is $200 on a Steam key for Hellraiser.
I remember when Demogorgon got removed, actually, it was the same situation, and they were selling Steam keys. And then there was this one player I ran into that bought a key for Demogorgon for $200, and then a week later they announced it was coming back, and I was like, well,
not worth it, dude. Like, I'm sorry, there is no killer in this game that is worth $200. There's no killer in this game that is worth $200.
I agree. So I do want to ask, just because you told me like your pathway, it was kind of like Ghostface, Deathslinger, Pyramid Head, then Pinhead. So what was the like initial appeal of him? Were you like originally a Hellraiser fan, or did you like go in reverse order and you see him in Dead by Daylight, you kind of fuck with them, and then you move backwards to Hellraiser?
I've always been a Hellraiser fan. My earliest memory with Hellraiser was I went to a Halloween store when I was a little kid. My mom brought me there because we were gonna buy some like costumes or whatever, and they had in the store a giant like life-sized statue of Pinhead, and it's such a cool, fascinating design. I'm like, why does he have nails in his face? And it always stuck with me. And obviously many years later, I actually then watched the Hellraiser films when I was older, and I started getting into horror movies like Saw, Scream, all that fun stuff. And Hellraiser just always stuck with me. I think the big thing for me was always just the character designs. I'm like, wow, such a unique monster, such a unique monster. And obviously they was very different than the other slashers. It wasn't just some guy in a mask, and not to say I hate, some guy in a mask. Obviously those are the most iconic ones, but it was just very unique. So but obviously when I picked them up, because like it's kind of just like one of those situations where the stars kind of aligned. I always liked Hellraiser, and then I liked The Power, because obviously, for example, I love Saw arguably is my favorite horror series. I kind of hate Pig. There was like a week where I was like, oh wow, I'm really vibing with Pig, and then I realized it's Pig. So yeah, Pig never really vibed with Pig's power, but Pinhead, he has like a real presence on the map. And I really like that. He's just obviously very thematic killer as well. You look at a killer like Ghostface, for example. He's not, obviously he does his own little stealth thing, but he doesn't really feel like he has a presence on the map. Obviously that's kind of it's the opposite from, you don't want to feel like you have a presence on the map. You want to be invisible. But Pinhead, obviously, he has the voice lines by Doug Bradley. It's so cool. I love Doug Bradley. He's such a nice guy, and the fact that he was willing to do the voice lines for Pinhead and DBD is absolutely insane. And thank goodness we get to keep those lines, even though the license is expired. Obviously, like the effects, like the chain animations are sick. I don't know, but it's just all cool to me. It's just all I feel very, very comfy with him. It's just nice to have him in DBD, and it's just literally one of those, because obviously a lot of people come to me and they go, I don't know what killer to main. What killer should I main? And my response is always the same. You may not have a killer main. You may never have a killer main. Like, you don't need one. A lot of people think think that they have to have a killer that they main, and they always say, but I don't really feel like I vibe with anyone. And it's like, well, yeah, then you probably don't have one. But not to say that you can't have like a rotation, like, oh, I enjoy playing Dracula, blah, 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 you know. But with Pinhead, it was literally perfect. I just vibe with the killer. I love the series, and it's just really fun for me, and it just clicked. I mean, that's why most people main their killer. I mean, look at someone like, you know, just for example, Bronx. Bronx loves Stranger Things. He's very good with demo. He's very comfortable with demo. He has fun on demo, and it just clicked with him, you know, and that's just kind of just the same, you know. Obviously, I'm assuming with you too, Nemesis, I'm assuming you love Resident Evil, right?
Actually, it was the opposite for me. I got into him because I didn't like playing palettes, and then I went in the reverse order. I didn't even play Resident Evil until like the second remake in like 2017 or something.
Really? Wow, that's interesting. But hey, you know, that introduced you to a new series that I'm assuming you really like, though.
Yeah.
You like Resident Evil now, though, I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. Pretty dope.
You know, I will say I love the more recent games. I love I had so much fun with RE Village and Biohazard. Those games were super fun.
So you've given me a lot of stuff that you like about Pinhead, but I just want to know, specifically, if you had to choose one aspect of Pinhead, I mean, like literally anything at all, a tech, visual, sound, voice line, whatever, like one thing, what is the top thing about Pinhead for you?
Probably just visuals with the killer. If that counts as one thing, just like the visuals, the animations, the design, just the visuals, that like everything. That's probably my absolute favorite. I just love the visuals. You know, I also just love the choice of a blue contrast, because obviously, you know, how much in the game do you have like this bright blue effect on things? Well, typically, you know, the game is a very dull game, and then you have this one killer that has like their whole thing is just electric blue, you know?
Yeah, imagine having a bald killer with a blue effect on the screen. That would be crazy, right?
Yeah, I was thinking, I'm like, you know, technically your killer has that too with the blue tentacle, the Nemesis whip. But it's still a rare color to see in the game. It's really only seen in those two instances with your killer and my killer. I don't know, I just really like that. I don't know, it just feels very, you know, nice. I don't know, it's hard to explain it, but I like it. I just like the visuals.
I like the color blue. Big fan of blue.
Me too. I also like the color blue.
On the opposite side of things, is there anything in particular that you dislike about Pinhead? Is there anything like, I mean, obviously his getting removed, that's pretty ass, but is there anything about Pinhead himself that you just like really don't like on the other end?
Sometimes the RNG aspect of him feels really shitty. Like, I've done everything in my power, you know, through maining him and making content in him to really get good at trying to minimize the RNG aspect of him. And there are things you can do to minimize like the damage that can be done, but there are just some instances where you're just shit out of luck. Like you're not going to be able to do very much. Like, you know, there are many times where part of my muscle memory with Pinhead is just knowing where it's like, yeah, no, I can't use my power here. I use my power here, boom, they just insta break all the chains on the environment. I wish that there was a way they could, without removing it, because I do feel like that needs to be. It's not that like I'm fully against it, but I feel like sometimes it does feel really crappy to hit a really good shot or do something really cool with the M2, and then it's like, oh, there was just a random tree out in the middle of nowhere, so now I just completely miss out on being able to make a play. I don't like the RNG aspect. I wish there was a way they could kind of minimize that, but that is the number one thing I hate about Pinhead. I think that's usually a lot of other people's complaint too, is the RNG aspect of the M2.
Yeah, that's just kind of a big thing about the game in general. It's like, I love running Scourges, don't get me wrong, but then Scourge RNG is kind of, sometimes I just lose, and it's like, well, that's too bad. It was a map related thing, just RNG, like a random tree, stuff like that. Is there any map that you really enjoy? Like, do you have a favorite map? Is there a least favorite map because that random tree spawns in more often than others? And are your favorite and least favorite maps the same as your killer's best and worst maps?
I guess guess I could say like my favorite map with Pinhead. It's kind of a tie between two maps. It's Dead Dog Saloon and the Forgotten Ruins map, because they're small. Small maps are great for box logic because you can almost always interrupt. I mean, if you're using the right add-ons anyways, if you're using like my favorite combo, what I like to call my regulars, which is Frank's Heart, Larry's Remains, on Dead Dog Saloon and Forgotten Ruins, you can reach the box from almost any part of the map. They pretty much have to be like fully across the map behind a bunch of crap in order to not get stopped. It's just, they're very strong maps for Pinhead. Very, very strong maps. I think I could probably count on one hand over the last 3 years how many times I've lost with Pinhead on, well, obviously Forgotten Ruins is a newer map, but I guess I could just throw it in the statistics here, but like I'm pretty sure I can count on one hand how many times I've lost on Pinhead on those maps. It's very small. It's literally like only like 2 or 3 times. I've even beaten comp players with my Pinhead on Dead Dog Saloon. So like actual comp players, like, you know, going in with comp mindset and all that stuff. Because I was on a comp team for a little while and I did a lot of scrims on Dead Dog with Pinhead, and I would typically win. So I really enjoyed Dead Dog Saloon. It's whenever I get Dead Dog Saloon when I'm playing Pinhead, I get very excited because I'm like, oh yes, let's go, favorite map. And then I'd say worst map, Bad Ham, I mean, has always just sucked for almost everyone. I hate Bad Ham. I mean, it's not impossible to play him, but I think one of the like aspects that just sucks about Pinhead that makes him suck on any particular map is, so there's this mechanic with Pinhead. It's the same with nerfs, but I feel like it affects Pinhead even worse. And I love making fun of this, and it's something I've been advocating to change for a while now, but I like to call it the "you were too accurate with Pinhead" effect. So let's say you're chasing on preschool and you're at the bottom of the school and you're getting ready to line up a shot on somebody, like they're just running down the stairs, and you're like, okay, I'm going to try to, you know, chain them right before to the pallet or whatever. And you back rev the chain, you know, you like put the portal right on his back. But the thing is, when you go to place the portal on his back, the game has this weird system where it goes, oh, there's no room here. I can't place this here. And it looks for available places to put it. And the first place it always decides to put it is upstairs, because it will push the gateway upstairs. So this happens on the game. This happens a lot on any basically, you know, map that has like a building with 2 levels. But if it can't find a place to put the gateway because you're placing it too close to the player, it will shove it upstairs, and then you're just kind of cucked.
It's not great. Okay.
It's not great. And I also, I want to throw this out here. This is probably, it's not my favorite map, but it's like a hard second place. And a lot of people are going to be shocked at this one, because a lot of people hate this map. But this is like one of like the honorable mentions is the game. I love the game when I'm playing Pinhead. You would think that you're like, bro, you're crazy. Like the game sucks for Killer like a lot. But in my opinion, it is probably one of his best maps, like, and it's actually not even close. It's right up there with like Dead Dog Saloon and Forgotten Ruins. The thing is, you kind of have to be good with your M2. If you're not good with the M2 and you're just an M1 Andy, then yeah, you're kind of just, you know, yeah, you're kind of shit out of luck.
Well, I mean, yeah, using your power, you'll usually be better off, but if you don't use your power, you won't be better off.
Enjoy eating 25 pallets.
I will enjoy eating 25 pallets, actually. My thing.
Yeah, it is. That's true.
So you were talking a little bit about Dead Dog Saloon being a really good map against comp players and all of that, but let me preface this. I don't just mean what tier is he, but like, how would you personally rate your killer in terms of strength? Just off of your own reasoning, experience, players you've played against, like all that, how strong is he?
If you are taking Pinhead at absolute face value, he is a B tier killer. He is absolutely a B tier killer. Middle of the road, not bad, not top tier, just straight up like an average killer. But I think if you were playing Pinhead, you know, you're hitting every single one of your M2s, you're playing around box logic, you're basically abusing every aspect of his kit to the maximum potential, then I think he's an A tier killer. I mean, obviously using good add-ons, I think he has like that capability. Like if you're running a little bit more of like a strict tier list, you know, like, oh, including including add-ons, including play styles, yada yada yada, then I do think he is an A tier killer. But obviously most players are never going to be able to reach that capability with Pinhead. So at face value, he really is like a B tier killer. He's really just a middle of the road killer. People who say he's like really bad, they're like, oh, he's like a C tier. I'm like, no, if you think he's a C tier, you're usually just kind of dog shit with the killer. I'll only ever push him up to A tier if you're talking like, oh, he's, you're playing to his full strengths. If you're abusing the box logic, you're getting good teleports, you're applying pressure with your M2 and all that stuff. Like then I would say he was like A tier, but it really depends on what kind, because obviously there's many different kinds of like tier lists. Simple ones, and then you have ones like Odds's where he tries to include add-on aspects and certain limitations, all that fun stuff. I'd say like high B tier, low A tier. Overall, like that's where I would put him, somewhere in there.
Okay. This definitely depends on the player's experience level. Then it's not just like plug and play. I'm A tier now. Gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And because you're talking about add-ons and their effect on his tier and playstyle and all that, how do you really feel about Pinhead's add-ons? And do you like really think that they're well balanced? Do you think they're overtuned, undertuned, and just like in general? I know you brought up Frank's Heart and Larry's Remains earlier, but what are your favorite add-ons to run? And are there any like notable add-ons that you think might be a little problematic, or any special mentions?
So with Pinhead's add-ons, Pinhead is a funny killer because for the longest time, everybody always says like, oh, he has so many good add-ons and such, and then you kind of just sit down and you really kind of look through his add-ons, and then you realize, damn, he really doesn't have a lot of like usable stuff. A lot of his add-ons are actually just kind of pointless and they don't really do very much. Even if they feel nice, they're just not that good. I have two combinations of add-ons that are my favorite, but they're obviously for very different play styles. One of them, obviously, like I said, is Larry's Remains and Frank's Heart. Frank's Heart gives you a +8 meter reach on your gateway placement, so you can basically just place your gateway a little bit farther away from you, which is great for box logic, for scouting, and I don't know, just sniping, obviously, if you enjoy doing that. And then Larry's Remains, which just adds 2 more seconds to the box solve time, which obviously, again, if you combo that with the range, you're getting a really good combo for being able to interrupt the box, which is always a good tool. Like I've used that against comp players and it's worked. It's a good combo, and they're only greens. Well, blues should I say now? Yeah, they're blues now. But yeah, they're not a super hard add-on to collect, so it's really easy to just be able to use those every single game. And then you have my other combination, which obviously is a little bit stronger overall. I guess most people would say would be Impaling Wire and Grease Lens, which Grease Lens is, talk about that in a sec, but Impaling Wire obviously is his best add-on. It's not even close. Impaling Wire just absolutely removes that RNG aspect, where if they snap all the chains on the environment, there's a good chance that at least one chain will grab them because of how many spawn in, and then kind of make up for that aspect where you kind of, just lost out on the use of your power. It is a fun add-on. I know there's a lot of complaints about Impaling Wire. I feel like a lot of people complain about Impaling Wire, but for the most part, I really don't see a problem with it, because the whole point of the add-on is you're using an add-on slot to try to alleviate that RNG pain sometimes, and it's a really nice add-on. I know Odds even, he's talked about it. I really don't see a problem with Impaling Wire. I really don't. Like, is it an add-on that can be a little frustrating? Yeah, but like, let's be real. Every killer has, at least one decent add-on, and they're except that's not true. Pyramid Head has range. I was gonna say Pyramid Head, but he has range, so he has at least one good add-on. But yeah, Impaling Wire. Like, I mean, obviously, I know not everyone's gonna agree with me on that, but Impaling Wire, obviously, it really just makes up for that RNG aspect, because sometimes when you're not using it, it feels really, really bad. Or you get a map like Larry's Hawkins, basically something where it's just every 2 inches is a 90-degree angle cut from, either debris or a doorway or whatever. So it's just, you hit a chain, any of those like choke points, they're just going to snap all the chains immediately, and then you're just kind of dead. You're kind of screwed. But yeah, and then like, I just like like pairing that with Grease Lens. Obviously, Grease Lens is an add-on that I think is so good on Pinhead and is so underrated, and you just never see anyone use it. I think I've seen 2 Pinheads in 3 years use that add-on, which is absolutely mind-boggling to me. I've seen more Pinheads use Chatterer's Tooth, which isn't a bad add-on, but it just blows my mind because Grease Lens is so good. You get 6 seconds of aura read by, hitting someone with your ability. So if you're hitting someone with your ability just constantly in chase, you're just getting insane information, opens up mind games. It quite literally is a pocket. I'm all ears, just ready to go every 6 seconds. You pair that with lethal, you get an 8-second wall hack every time you hit someone with your ability, which is longer than the cooldown is, so you can just keep people perma revealed in chase, which is insane.
I do like these Moras. I will say.
Yeah, it's a fun combo, but yeah, I love that combo, super fun. And then just overall though, after those add-ons, you kind of start dipping into the section. Like, obviously a lot of people talk about, well, I guess I'll just throw out really fast, Original Pain. I hate using that add-on. The only thing there's only 2 uses for that add-on. It's tunneling people. That's the only reason people use it, is to tunnel. And obviously you know about tunneling because you are the tunneling main.
Hey.
You are the nemesis. But yeah, or just constantly trying to stall. Obviously if you're constantly hitting people who are injured with OG Pain, they have to keep mending. You're just stalling. Basically you're stalling. It's obviously one of the better add-ons for comp, because the more time you're buying for yourself, the better you're gonna do. But outside of a very controlled environment like comp, I hate Original Pain. I think it's such a stupid add-on. I think it's completely unfair in pubs, and I would absolutely like to see that one reworked. It is the only add-on that I think needs to be reworked because it's too good. I think it's the only add-on that needs to be reworked, but it's too good. I don't even think NG Fang needs changes, because the thing is about NG Fang is it is incredibly strong against healthy players, but it makes you weaker against people who are injured. So your chase power just becomes really, really ineffective. And especially if the player you're chasing is, decent, I'm not even saying like amazing, but decent, you're going to struggle. You pretty much are just playing an M1 killer with no power at that point once you injure them. So you kind of have to really tailor your build around NG Fang in order to actually make it work. And I just think a lot of people just kind of baby rage over NG Fang just because they're bad players, not because the add-on is like OP. I don't know why so many people just baby rage about NG Fang, because I don't understand. I really don't understand. It's like, okay, well, you're injured. Well, now you get to play against an M1 killer now, the killer with no power. So
it's really bad outside of that like original injury.
Yep. Yeah. Like I said, you could tailor it though. When I run NG Fang, I love tailoring builds around it, so I'll run some chase perks to try to alleviate that. But I had a game where I even had 4 chase perks, and it was on Garden of Joy, and I got a Swift, and they were a pretty good Swift, and I was running NG Fang, and of course I could just keep that whole team injured. Like they're all of them were injured for the whole game basically. But outside of that, it was really hard. Like obviously they played every tile really well, and it was just, even with perks like Bamboozle, Brutal, Fire Up, all this fancy stuff, and it was hard, and I lost, and I still lost the match. That's the thing about NG Fang, because it really is a pub stomping add-on. It is only good against your typical pub group, but outside of that, it's really not. Not to say you can't do some fun things with it. And then when you kind of move outside of all the add-ons I've mentioned at this point, everything else just sucks. I know some people will, absolutely love the turning add-ons, the ones that allow you to kind of like turn your chain more while after you send it. But to be honest, very rarely is that even going to come into play, because for the most part, you're just going to be wanting to drop your gateway on people or drop it at an angle where you can still hit them even without the turn angles. Obviously you have the chain hunt timers. Those are completely pointless, because if you're playing box logic, you're never going to be actually having to wait for the chain hunt to start. They're very rarely are you ever going to play around that. I guess the only other decent one is Eerie Lament configuration. There's just nothing really special to mention about the one, because it's just a passive slowdown. That's all it is. It just makes it a little bit harder to find the box, so you're either going to get a chain hunt a little bit more often, or you're going to make somebody look for the box for a little bit longer. Not a bad add-on, but I wouldn't say like an amazing add-on. It's just a passive indirect slowdown. A lot of Pinhead's add-ons are just really bad. Like almost all of his brown add-ons are just completely pointless. You have Bent Nail, you have this troll add-on. It's really bad. So it's like 5, 6 add-ons that are very like, notable. And then outside of that, everything else is pretty much unusable because it doesn't really do anything for you.
But while we are running things, how about perks do you like running?
Dude, I run everything on Pinhead.
Do you think there's any perk that Pinhead specifically uses better than any other killer, and why? And what's your specific favorite perk?
See, the wonderful thing about Pinhead, and another reason why I main him, is because he's so incredibly versatile, because he's an M1 killer at heart, but he has an M2 power. So it really, for me, it's perfect because it's like you can run anything. You can literally run anything. You can do stealth builds, chase builds, slowdown builds, troll build, all these like goofy, unique combinations or just fun builds, and he can take advantage of everything. You look at a killer like Nurse or Blight, they can't run every build. They can't do everything, obviously, because, they're M2 killers. I mean, you can run an M1 build on like Billy, but obviously for the most part, you're not going to want to do that because they're M2 based killers. But Pinhead, at the end of the day, he is an M1 killer. That's really fun. Like, for I think one perk that he uses better than almost anyone else is Rapid Brutality, because you're not going to be getting Bloodlust on Pinhead anyways, because you're going to be able to use your power every 6 seconds. So obviously you need to wait 15 seconds before you even get Bloodlust, so you can use your power 2 times before you even get Bloodlust. Rapid Brutality is just nice because, like, once you get that hit, you're going to be able, you see, the nice part too is that speed boost you get actually also applies while you're holding your gateway out. So it's kind of like Rat Liver with Demo. You get that little bit of a speed boost while you're using your power. It feels really nice. Feels really, really nice. But I think he uses Rapid better than almost anyone else. I mean, I know there's a few other killers. Clown obviously is a very top contender for Rapid Brutality because obviously every time he throws a bottle, it removes Bloodlust, and he has a built-in speed boost into his power as well. But I would just argue that they're like tied because they both utilize it so incredibly well. Any killer obviously that's M1 based that cancels Bloodlust, very quickly because of how fast they can use their power, like, Singularity, for example, too. They're all great, but like they're all equal in my eyes for how good they use Rapid, because it's such a good perk with those M1 killers that have a way to catch up or slow down survivors constantly. So Rapid has always been my favorite perk. Literally the PTB, they announced Alien. I made a YouTube video that blew up that was about Rapid, and I was like, bro, Rapid on Pinhead is gonna be insane. And I was right. It was insane. And it is insane. I use that perk. That is probably the only perk I think I use more than Rapid Brutality is Barbecue, just because it's barbecue and chili. I love barbecue and chili because barbecue has like a little secret hidden effect with Pinhead, which is it really helps with box logic, because if you ever down someone holding the box and then you pick that person up and then you hook them, you'll see all the auras of everyone across the map. And if you see little Timmy, running into the corner without a generator across the map, you're like, oh, okay, well, I don't even need to guess where the box is. He just told me because he's running into the corner with no generator, So those are like my 2 favorites, Barbecue and Rapid. I love those perks on Pinhead. They're super. I also wouldn't even call them mean perks. It's not like Pain Res or whatever that's like really, really strong. They're just fun perks too. I just really enjoy using them on Pinhead.
All right, Barbecue, Rapid Brutality. Gotcha. And last perk question, I promise, but do you think there's a perk for Survivor that directly counters your killer, and why, I guess?
Oh, there is one, and I'm reluctant to say it because I don't want people to run it, is Fixated. Fixated absolutely just demolishes Pinhead. If you're versing a player with and without Fixated, the person with Fixated is going to just demolish you almost every time, especially if they're a decent player, which obviously, for the viewer, if they don't know, Fixated makes your walking speed 20% faster. And whenever you're hindered by Pinhead's chains, it lowers your speed enough that it's considered to be walking speed. So it actually applies the 20% speed boost to you while you are walking around with chains, which makes it obviously that, you can get to that pallet a little bit faster, or you can round around that corner a little bit quicker and snap the chains, and it really just destroys Pinhead. It is the one perk in the game that I would arguably say completely hard counters Pinhead. If you have a Swift that knows they're going to be versing a Pinhead, if they all run fixated, I wouldn't say they have a guaranteed chance of winning because they could still mess up and lose, but I would say the odds are definitely in their favor at that point. I hate versing people with fixated. Thankfully, it's not a super duper common perk. You'll see it in a few builds, but for the most part, it's not super common. You'll know, like if you're playing Pinhead, you'll know very quickly that they have it, because you'll be able to tell that they're just like, even when you M2 them, they're still just making decent distance walking around loops. So,
all right, okay. And with the playing against things, now that you're kind of a less common killer due to, you know, already being like relatively unpopular in the cast and then like getting removed from the game and all that, and now that like people see a Pinhead once in a blue moon, I can't even recall the last time I saw one. Might have been you, honestly. How do you feel the general community appeal towards Pinhead is now? Like, do you run into a lot of fans of them or antis? I know we talked about like it's very night or day on if they like Pinhead or not, but do you feel like the community has been leaning more positively towards Pinhead since he got removed, or what's it like now?
What I'll say is I feel like within at least the circles that I hang out, I feel like a lot of more notable content creators, they enjoy Pinhead. They like Pinhead. I'll say I think if a player becomes better at DBD, they will enjoy Pinhead more. I'm not even like trying to say this is like a jab towards certain, you know, people, but the only people I see that really don't like Pinhead, they're really not that good at the game. And like I said, I'm not even trying to say that to like, you know, like as a jab to those people, but it really is, those people are just not very good at DBD, and so they're gonna get stomped by Pinhead because he is a pub stomping killer. He absolutely is a pub stomping killer. If you don't know what you're doing, you're gonna lose.
I used to think Bubba was OP because I didn't know where windows were. So
yeah.
When you're new, it is legitimately a viewpoint, because I didn't even know where windows were. So what do I do?
Yep. But like I said, as a player becomes better at the game, I think they enjoy Pinhead more because they kind of see him for what how he is, and they see that there are legitimate things you can do versing a Pinhead, and it feels good too. Like you said, you get like a good juke while they're trying to M2 you, and it feels good. You're like, oh wow, yeah, I just made him miss that. You know, then you get that little break where he's just M1 Andy and he has to chase you. It's all about just kind of learning, you know, what you need to do, you know, whenever you think he's ready to use his power. But, you know, I really do think, like, overall, though, as time goes on, I believe he's going to be like a aged, like, fine wine killer. I really do feel like as time goes on, more and more people that don't like him will start to enjoy playing against him because, you know, obviously they'll get better at the game. They'll know what you need to do against him, and they'll be able to perform better in matches against him, which will make him more enjoyable. Because like a lot of people, because my one of my big tips with him is you want to kind of treat him like Deathslinger a little bit. You don't just run in a straight line looking away from the killer when you're playing against a Deathslinger, because everybody knows you do that. He's going to shoot you in the back and you're dead. With Pinhead, it's the same thing. Like you kind of, a lot of people, they think, oh, he's not going to be able to injure me with this power. I just need to be able to run away. It's like, well, you do that, I'm just going to get an easy hit on you, and then I'm going to be able to walk up to you and M1 you. So you kind of want to treat it like that. And when people start to understand that and realize that you kind of basically treat him like Deathslinger, then he becomes easier to play against. And then people start, you know, they get a little more creative with their movement, and it makes it harder for the Pinhead to hit, and then they start to see a little bit more success in their chases, and, you know, then they have more fun. So
yeah, okay. And, you know, as he's seen less, absence makes the heart grow fonder, or whatever the saying is, so people might like him more. Okay, pretty simple then, pretty simple. So he's a relatively straightforward kind of guy, you know, like Slinger, you know, point, shoot, aim my chain, aim the box. Can't aim the box. But does Pinhead have any like special secret techniques that maybe aren't as known, or any that are known? Because, you know, I'm new, but I don't play Pinhead. That's the whole point of the series, is to talk about people that do play their killers. But like, what tech techs could you share? Does he have anything special that's like a secret in your back pocket card that you pull out sometimes? What's he got going?
Oh yeah, there's one that obviously is not super well known, and I feel like a lot of people don't use it. I remember I recently taught Bronx. Well, I wouldn't say recently, but like I some decent time ago, I taught Bronx how to do it, and he does it now too. But it's when you finish teleporting, as Pinhead is basically like your character's like reforming into the world, you can already be pre-charging your chain. So by the time you're able to start moving, you can already have your gateway on top of that survivor and then M2 them. And it's something that really takes people by surprise, because they'll see Pinhead like basically spawn in, and then you're already getting hit, and they're like, "Whoa, you know, he just barely teleported in. I'm already chain bound." And it's one of those things where it's like you teleport to somebody and it will get you downs, because if they prepared for you by going to a strong loop and you're already M2ing them the second that you're teleported there, you can still catch them. You can, like, unless they're camping a pallet or whatever. But it's one of those like techs that's really nice. Like, people didn't realize you could start charging your M2 the very moment your character, you know, regains like vision, because you know how like it starts to fade the black and then boom, you're in your new location. The second that you regain that vision after your screen goes black when you're teleporting is when you can start charging your M2, but you don't have control, like you don't have full movement yet. But that's why I said you have your gateway pre-charged so that you can basically hit them a little bit quicker. That's like the number one like tech, because obviously a lot of people these days now know about box logic. It's not something that's unknown. It's a little bit more common for people to know about it. Obviously the difference between knowing about it and being able to pull it off are very different. So but I would still throw box logic out there. It's just the fact that there is a system to it. You can abuse it. It's very, very powerful.
All right, big one takeaway: you can use your gateway essentially right after teleporting. That's the big one. All right, cool. And similar to techs, someone might even say that these are technically the same thing, depending on the killer. Does Pinhead have any bugs that you want to talk about?
I mean, believe it or not, even right now, it would be so funny because there's so many killers that are so bugged, but at the moment, really, no. He is actually one of the only killers right now that doesn't really have any bugs. Like, the only, like I said, it's not even a bug. It's just the way he's designed, the aspect where you place the gateway on somebody and it like pushes it up or down a level because it has no place to put it. And that's not even a bug. That's just how he is. He really does not have any, to my knowledge anyways. There could be something I'm completely unaware of, but no, right now, at the very moment of this video, he actually doesn't. He was bugged for like 10 months where he had a bunch of issues with his field of view with his gateway and shooting his chain that like really disoriented people and gave people motion sickness. But that got patched and he really hasn't had any issues since, which is actually really surprising. So yeah, no, he's one of the, and it's funny, he's one of the only killers right now that's not bugged in the game, and you can't buy him anymore. You can't even buy him.
So maybe that's why he didn't get bugged, is because you can't buy him.
You can't buy him anymore.
All right, I'm going to take a little bit of a left turn conversationally because I don't have a thread at the moment. But as far as his cosmetic options, you know, like the few choices you had before he, again, disappeared, which was like Chatterer, the red and black version. How are you feeling about cosmetics? Obviously, he doesn't really have a whole lot of them. But do you think that, just hypothetically, complete pipe dream scenario, what would you have made for him as a cosmetic if you had like a full executive control? And what's your favorite?
Number one, so like there was a few I'd love to see. Number one, I'd love to just see more Cenobite legendary skins. I wanted to see Butterball. I wanted to see Deep Throat. I would have, you know, it would be really cool to see the remake Cenobites, like the ones from the more recent Clive Barker film.
I did like that movie. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it was really good. I really enjoyed that movie. But I'd love to see those. And then there was one, so they actually had I can't remember the name of it. It's like a board of test cosmetics they were, you know, tinkering with the ideas of when they were, because obviously they had time to make one unique Dead by Daylight exclusive cosmetic that wasn't part of the films or books or whatever. Obviously they landed with the Hell Priest skin, which is a very cool skin. I do actually think that skin's really cool. But there was one version that they had on that, like that board of cosmetics when they were first trying to come up with ideas for a cosmetic. There was this one where he had like this unique, contraption of a mask on his face, and it just looked really cool. Like, I thought that skin was really cool. I would have absolutely wanted that one added into the game as like another Dead by Daylight behavior exclusive skin for Pinhead that wasn't part of Clive Barker's original designs, because I just thought it looked sick. And but yeah, my favorite cosmetic, I mean, it's kind of really just a tie between good old Pinhead and good old Chatterer. I do like the Hell Priest skin, but I think obviously your classic Pinhead design and Chatterer are my absolute favorites. I cycle between them both pretty equally. I think Chatterer's design is absolutely dope. I absolutely love his character design, so I do play him quite a lot. But it's kind of just a tie between both of them because they're just, their designs are sick. So yeah.
Oh yeah. If you could get your own skin, of course, but if you had still executive control scenario, do you think there's any like inherent problems with Pinhead's kit? Do you think there's any frustrating parts for survivors playing against Pinhead that maybe they don't understand because they have some misconception about him? And like, do you think there's something that you could just point at and be like, okay, yeah, this specific thing, this needs to get changed. I think this is problematic for everyone involved.
There was actually something just like that actually was part of his kit, but it actually was reworked. It was one of the few things I was like, that needs to get nerfed on Pinhead. And it was, you're probably familiar with it, but do you remember when Pinhead, whenever you'd solve the box, you could still get like random AI chains would like grab you?
Yeah, and then
and
like,
interrupt you?
They would just keep interrupting you for free and you had to like dodge into a wall 3 times and then...
It was something that you had no idea how to counter unless you had played against Pinhead enough times to learn and realize, which was very hard because it's like, how do you pay attention to that? Like, do like, I mean, some people might be able to pick up on that quick, but it was something that I was like, yeah, no, I feel like overall this is just kind of, it feels shitty. And especially like the only way to learn about it was you had to learn about it off the video game. You had to go to YouTube, you had to go to the wiki, you had to go to forums, whatever, and learn about it outside of the game. And obviously something like that, which can make a big difference in matches, being learned outside of the game, I think is a huge no-no. So I was always like, yeah, that's gotta go. And they made a very reasonable rework for it, where it no longer does that. You can still get interrupted by chains, in a weird way, but it's not frustrating anymore. You can just pick up the box and solve it and not have to worry about some random AI timer, like, going off at the last second. You're like, oh, okay, well, I'm just screwed now because I just got interrupted while he was already making his way over to me. And now I have to sit down for another 8 seconds, but, he had enough time to be able to get within range, and now the whole team is screwed because of something like that. It wasn't a feels good thing. It felt really bad, and I understood why people really disliked that. And that was really the only thing that I thought was very problematic with Pinhead. And the fact that they changed that made me very happy. It made the killer feel diverse, and newer players have a better chance of dealing with him now. So yeah, that was a huge, that was the only thing. And they actually took care of it, believe it or not. They actually took care of it. So
all right, W behavior on that. Has every update to Pinhead been of a similar quality to him? Like every buff, nerf, like, do you think that they've been fair?
I think every patch to Pinhead so far has been actually perfect. He hasn't been patched very often, but every time he has, it's been good. Like the first set of patches he received was simply add-on changes when Artist came out. So it was 3 months after he had been released, 3 months after he was released. And it was just nerfing a bunch of add-ons that were ridiculously strong, because like the original Chain Hunt Timer add-ons, they were decent. They were high enough number of value, like on the add-ons, that you could be like, okay, you know what, this is not terrible. This is actually usable. And I feel like honestly they kind of did deserve a nerf, because if you're using both of them, like if you were like a newer player, that would throw you off and be one of those things that's like, okay, well, now I just have to go and solve more often. I think the way the system is, the perfect 45 seconds plus 90 seconds is perfect. It's short enough that if the survivors are pressured hard enough or being dumb long enough in the match, they're gonna get punished for it. But it's also just long enough that it doesn't feel overwhelming. You know, you have enough time to go and solve the box and stuff. And then of course they nerfed Engineer's Fang. That add-on absolutely deserved the nerf. That add-on was so overpowered. Literally made Pinhead, in my opinion, like a top A tier killer, maybe even S tier, because you just get the injure for free, and then you were like you still had a decent, you know, chase power. But so that add-on absolutely needed a nerf. Absolutely needed that. And other than that, I think they didn't really make too many other changes to his kit. They buffed Chatterer's Tooth. It was very, very weak, and then they gave it some buffs, and now it's actually, like, you know, decent for the role that it plays. It's obviously not supposed to just be thrown in any Pinhead build. You have to like tailor around it, but you know, it's usable now. And then, like I said, after that, the only other change he got was that one where the AI chains no longer snap to the survivor while they're solving the box. And other than that, those were the only two patches, and they were great. They They made Pinhead feel more consistent, more comfortable, and less bullshit.
Cool. And when we're talking about changes still here, rather than changes specifically to Pinhead, Dead by Daylight is always a game that changes itself, you know, with new maps, new perks, new survivors, etc, etc. But how has, like, the meta, how is the game changing around Pinhead, like, treated him? Has he really kept up with the times since his release, do you think?
No, he's great. Like I said, my only issue these days is just that little bit of an RNG aspect can make him feel kind of crappy to play. But other than that one complaint, no, I think he's done really well. He still fits in the game pretty well, even now, even though he's been here for a long time, because there are certain killers that feel a little outdated. Like, in my opinion, I think Pyramid Head feels a little outdated. He could use some changes, mostly evolving around the cages. But that's my opinion. I know some people are going to disagree, but I personally think Pyramid Head's a little outdated.
I think if you took away the core, like, gameplay of it, it would still kind of, like, feel kind of ass, you know?
No, definitely. Yeah, obviously he would need some very special attention, but I do feel like he's a little outdated. But with Pinhead, no, I think he still fits perfectly. He's done great. Even with a lot of the addition of maps and a lot of interesting map clutter and stuff, I think overall, though, he has stood the test of time and is looking to continue to be that way. I know, see, the one interesting thing is Behavior had plans to make changes to Pinhead and Plague, and then they decided to delay that, and we haven't heard about that since. So I don't know. I feel like they eventually are going to come circle around to Pinhead. Personally, if anything, because I think he's in a very good spot, but like for the most part, if they were to only go through him, the only real changes I'd like to see are just kind of maybe some changes to some of the add-ons, because a lot of them are just really pointless. Just kind of make them more interesting, make them a little bit more fun. They don't need to be like OP or anything, just more interesting choices, because I think having more interesting choices is always fun.
I would really like it if add-ons were more like play style choices rather than just like, here's my number buff and this one happens to be better than my other number buff. Exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that's always a very fun thing. But yeah, no, I mean, other than, like, you know, like I said, there's those smaller things, like, you know, I always thought that you should be able to get rewarded for hitting a player for farther away in some shape or form, because obviously if you're sniping someone without NG Fang, just your regular chains from, you know, 40 meters away, that's not going to do anything.
Well, they're mildly inconvenienced for a little bit, but you're still not over there, so
yeah, so it's like, okay, well, I tickled you, and now I'll be there in like 15 seconds. And so I mean, I always wanted to see something, you know, rewarded for that, whether it be like more additional chains grabbing the player to slow them down a lot more so Pinhead actually can catch up to them, or I don't know, something, you know, maybe there's a lot of things you could do with that, but things that basically just kind of, you know, fill the empty spots in his kit that don't really belong. If you're like just talking regular Pinhead, that could just, you know, be filled that way.
With anything interesting about Pinhead, like sniping and Pinhead and like skill expression and being rewarded for skill expression, just in general, do you feel like Pinhead's gameplay skill has transferability to other killers, or you mentioned Call of Duty briefly earlier, do you think that being a really good Pinhead makes you a better killer player? And do you think it makes you like better at other games?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Pinhead, this is something actually also Odds agrees with. If you're a good Pinhead player, you're typically just going to be a good killer player in general, because he has M2 aspects that you can get good with, and it makes you a better M1 killer too, because he is an M1 killer. There's a lot of micro and macro gameplay that you can be taking into account while playing him. So it makes it, if you're doing good with that, then you can usually learn to get really good with some of the other killers that have similar aspects. But yeah, no, Pinhead is one of those killers where it's like, if you had to pick one killer to play that would make you as good of a killer player in general, it would be Pinhead, because again, he's an M1 killer, because that takes care of all the M1 killers on the list. If you're good with one M1 killer, you're good with all of them. And then he, like I said, he has the M2 aspect, because like he's a very dual M2 killer, M1 killer like that, because of his very unique M2. So if you're good at aiming and being snappy with his M2, then you're going to be good, with like nurse blinks. You're going to be good with bouncing off walls with blight. You're going to be good at doing Billy, flicks and all that fun stuff. Like, you're going to be good at all that stuff, because it's a muscle memory that I feel like is very transferable. If you're good with Pinhead, you're typically going to be good with most other killers. You're going to be good with all aiming ranged killers. You're going to be good with, I think, even like mobility killers too. Pinhead's just one of those killers.
And say somebody does want to get good at Pinhead, I know there's probably not going to be a lot of people playing him for the first time until he comes back to Dead by Daylight, which, fingers crossed, copium, whatever. But say Hellraiser fan 86, Hellraiser fan since it came out, he went into a Halloween store, he saw a life-size Pinhead statue and just like set for life, big Hellraiser fan, right? And he spent the $200, he gets a key, he goes and plays Pinhead for the first time. What would be like some very general advice you would give this guy for the first time when he's playing Pinhead?
Don't be afraid to use your power. You might miss a bunch and you'll be deterred. You're like, I'm just going to start W keying these people down. Don't be afraid to just try to M2 people, because the more you practice that M2, the more natural it will feel. And then slowly you'll kind of implement that into your normal gameplay. You'll be able to use it more aggressively, and it will feel good to be able to use it like in chase and loops. It really, with Pinhead is M2s, it's just a lot of muscle memory. It's a lot of muscle memory that you learn, and then you just kind of recreate that every time you load into a map. You're like, oh, I've M2'd somebody on this tile before, I'm just going to do the same thing I always do, and you just kind of recreate that over and over again.
Practice makes perfect. Absolutely.
Yep.
Because you can never know your limits if you never try to surpass your limits. Exactly. So with the limits and self-imposed strategies and trying to win with these limits, how do you feel about win streaks on Pinhead? Have you ever done one? Do you like doing them? And if so, why?
Oh yeah, I mean, I as of to my knowledge anyways, I mean, someone may have beaten it. I actually still have the world record longest Pinhead win streak. It was 244 wins in a row before I finally lost it, just barely too. It was so sad. It was so close. It was on Garden of Joy. Just barely managed to get two people out. I overcommitted to someone, made a bunch of mistakes, and because of it, they managed to get two people out. And of course, with a real win streak, I'm not doing any of this. Oh, it's a draw. It's either you win or you lose. There is no draws. Come on, be real, people. But yeah, it was a loss. They got two people out of the exit gate, so I unfortunately lost that streak. And I mean, technically, I do still have one going. I started a new one, but I kind of just got bored doing it. I'm currently, I think, actually at 25 wins in a row, and I could continue that whenever I want, but I just got bored, so I haven't continued. But yeah, to my knowledge, I'm the only one that has that high of a win streak on Pinhead. Yeah, I don't know. After I lost it, I took like a massive break from win streaking on Pinhead because it was very stressful. It's very stressful once you get that high, because obviously you want to maintain it, but eventually you are going to lose it. I mean, everyone always loses their win streaks. I mean, you look at, like Alf or Momo, anyone who had just insanely high, win streaks on their S tier killers. And I mean, they even lost them. Like, they got to around 1,000, and then after that they lost them. It happens. I think win streaking for the most part, like I don't really see a problem with it. Like if someone wants to do like, yeah, it feels kind of shitty when you're just loading up Survivor and you're like, I just want a chill game, you know, I just want to vibe. And then you get like a killer just, you know, they're treating it like they'll die if they lose. And it can feel crappy. But at the end of the day, I don't really see a problem with it. Like, you know, as long as they're not cheating it, you know, there's a lot of people who do win streaks that they do it just for the clout. They don't do it for the self, you know, improvement or the challenge or the thrill of it. They do it because they get to go online and say, oh, I have a 755 win streak on Pig or whatever. I don't know. And it's like, dude, like if you're not doing it for the love of the challenge and you're doing it for the clout, then who cares? You know, like I want part of the reason I did the win streak on Pinhead was because I just wanted to see how far I could go. And then I got up to that insanely high number of 244 wins in a row without losing. And then eventually I lost it and I was like, damn, you know, I mean, I don't know if I'll see. The thing is, I don't know if I'll ever be able to pass it again, because that was during the time that Pinhead, you know, was at his peak, because he still had that ability for random AI chains to interrupt people solving the box. So even like a good team, if they were solving and a chain started spawning in, they'd have to stop and sidestep, and that would give me a lot more pressure with the box. And obviously you don't have that anymore, so it's a lot harder to do that.
Yeah, an indirect nerf, but overall a healthy one. Gotcha.
But I mean, overall, no, I don't really see a problem with win streaks. I just think the only thing that sucks is as win streaks have become more like, you know, of a popular thing within the community. Like I said, you get a lot of people that just cheat because they just want the clout. They want to be able to go online and say, oh, I have this number. I'm like, no, you cheated. You cheated it. It's not like, you're kind of just ruining it for everyone that's doing it legitimately, you know? Like it's become a little cringe just because of that. Like initially in the earlier days of the win streaking, because I picked up the Pinhead win streak, I'd say, when it was kind of just starting to get popular. It's one of those things where it feels less fun to do now, because I feel like so many people are doing it, and a lot of people have these, like, you know, they want to maintain it as long as possible, so they just make it like easy mode as possible. Like I said, a lot of people, they'll add the, oh, if 2 people get out, it's not a loss, it's a draw. And it's like, no, man, you can't be doing stuff like that, because then it really waters down the value of it, in my opinion, and makes it less of a challenge. Because already as a killer player, you're gonna win with 4 slowdowns on your killer, like already almost all your matches. So if you're just making it even easier, or you're saying, oh, this person was hacking when they clearly weren't, you know, just really waters it down.
Yeah, so. I feel like it's really funny because I did a very casual win streak, and I had ties, and like before you like actually execute me for that one, like I'm not a super competitive player. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. Like even during streaks, I feel bad tunneling. And I know the Nemesis player feels bad tunneling. That's crazy. But like I did a very casual one. I got to like 78. I'm not saying it was the highest Nemesis streak ever. I didn't even really like doing it. I'm not a big streak fan. But like I think the important thing is that like if you just say the rules of your streak like out loud, rather than just be like, oh no, that's a tie, like 300 in when you get like a 1k or whatever, it's like, well, that's a little weird. But
at the end of the day, it is your own rules. Like, I mean, I think that's that is also my number one ideology, is you create a rule set and you follow them to the T, and you don't try to cheat it out, you know, because like I had my rule set for mine. I remember my chat too was like, I think one of them was hacking. I'm like, no, man, no, I lost fair and square, you know?
Yeah. And while we're talking about just trying extra hard, you know, playing as mean as we need to get a win, 3k win streak, whatever. So the survivor experience during games like that, if they're not prepared for it, like admittedly, does kind of suck, you know. Average Timmy 2-tap who's getting home from his 9 to 5, playing 2 games of Dead by Daylight, running into 10,000 hour Nemesis player, tunneling him at 5, like it's a little rough sometimes. So maybe he skips out on the game, maybe he disconnects. The going next Epidemic type deal, you know. They have announced that they're making some changes, that is behavior. They're doing something about it. We don't know all the details yet, but what are your general thoughts on the whole going next thing, and like how often do you have people disconnecting or going next on hook against Pinhead?
Oh, all the time. all the time. I get disconnects and hook suicides all the time, like all the time. It's something that obviously it really sucks when you get a lot of them in several matches back to back to back, because it really just deters you from wanting to play the game. You're like, bro, like really there is no such thing as doing anything wrong in DBD. I mean, like obviously you can't even bleed people out anymore, really, because they can just do the abandon feature. It's I think it is something I'm glad they're addressing it, because I think more times than not, I try to give some people the benefit of the doubt, but I think more times than not, it really is just people baby raging. Like, you will spawn in as Trapper with no perks and padded jaws. You'll find Jimmy, sitting in the corner. You'll walk up to him and hit him, and then he'll disconnect. Okay, oh, is it because he didn't want to get found first? Like, okay, what did you expect, man? I think there's a lot of that going around. People are just basically they're just baby raging for no reason. You will hook someone, chase 3 other people, get 3 hooks, come back to that person, down them, they'll DC, and then they'll go, oh, you tunneled me. No, I didn't, dude. No, I didn't. Because they're already so angry at the game, and they're just looking for any excuse to basically just say, blame anyone else except themselves, or just realize they need to take a break or whatever.
I hear Civ 5 is good this time of year.
But yeah, I'm glad they're addressing it. Because the thing is, obviously they've addressed the bleed outs. The killer can't just bleed out 4 people for 4 minutes now,
and they killed Old Knockout, which was wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, thank goodness. I'm so glad they nerfed that perk. That perk was just awful for the game. But yeah, they got rid of that, which is very good. But yeah, overall, I'm just glad they'll be doing that, because if you're loading into the game and you're going, oh, I don't want to verse this, obviously I know there's people, like, there's obviously the rare circumstance where people, like I said, they have their issues with the killer. Like, I know some people can't play against Plague because of the whole vomit thing.
Yeah, and that goes deeper into like accessibility, and I think like those are justified, obviously. Like, yeah,
those are justified, and I feel like eventually they can find a way to add accessibility. Like, obviously for Plague and stuff, it's like, have an option that changes her puke from green to, like, I don't know, purple or something like that. So obviously it doesn't associate.
And
like there's a lot of stuff. Like, for me, I really want them to remove like have an option to be able to mute sounds when getting hooked, because it's just so loud. It's so incredibly loud, and it's not even something that like really bothers me, but it's one of those things where it's like, man, maybe we should have an accessibility for that. It's like, let me make it so that whenever I get hooked, I don't have to hear my you're not 7 trillion decibels.
You don't like him?
No. Oh, I hate Stiegels. Oh my god, it's like, dude, please stop, please, no more.
But yeah, that's another like accessibility thing. It's just like, it's just obnoxious for the sake of being obnoxious. I get it's a funny haha, but it would be nice to have.
It gets old. It's really one of those things where it's like, people are like, oh, we're just having fun. Like, brother, I've gone against a billion people who do this. It gets old. So let's grow up a little and at least recognize that what you're doing is fucking annoying. So yeah, I think that's obviously a discussion for another day. But yeah, behavior, they could just continue to improve accessibility. Obviously, the more accessible their game, the more people that will be willing to play it, makes it better, more comfortable for everyone. I know a lot of people complain about yada yada this, yada yada that. They're like, oh, why do you have so much problems with the game? Like, brother, just give them their accessibility problems, and it's something that doesn't affect you.
And it's
like, who cares?
It's legitimately like, it's not even an issue. It's like saying, oh, I don't want them to add a wheelchair ramp for people in a wheelchair. It's like, they still need to go up the stairs, dude. Like, it's not a big deal, and you can walk up the ramp. Like, accessibility features help everyone, because remember they had like a big stink over the visual heartbeat thing too.
Oh my god, yeah, people still call that like cheating. They're like, oh, you're cheating if you have that on. I'm like, dude, shut up. Oh my god. Like, Jesus, you babies, literal babies.
It's never that serious, I think. It's just, it's a helpful feature. Like, I'm a little hard of hearing. I'm not like, deaf. And like, it helps me. Mm-hmm. So imagine how much it helps someone who literally cannot hear.
Yeah, you want to know how nice it was for them when they added that? Because I was still working at my old job when I think they first added it. And, when I was taking phone, like, obviously this wasn't even for accessibility, but I was taking phone calls. Like, I was working from home for a short time because I had broken my leg and I was taking phone calls at home for my work. Well, basically, while I was working on phone calls, I just played games on my computer. But obviously, I couldn't have my headset on while I was actively on the phone, talking with people, with associates and such,
of course, yeah.
and clients. So I just had the heartbeat sensor on, so I could at least know when the killer was showing up,
Yeah.
And it's nice. It's nice. So it's like, bro, for people who can't hear the game at all, that's wonderful. That's wonderful.
Yeah. And with accessibility stuff and just Dead by Daylight in general, like, it's kind of a big question, but how long do you think Dead by Daylight is going to last with this current, however it's trending? And like,
it depends. It depends on how well Five Nights at Freddy's does, because if Five Nights at Freddy's does well, 10 more years, easily 10 more years.
I mean, pretty much everyone that I've talked to has been like, yeah, Five Nights at Freddy is going to be a big fucking deal. Like, I legitimately think that we'll break 200K on Steam. Easy. Like,
easily.
Like, if there was ever a horror franchise, gaming horror franchise that was going to engorge Dead by Daylight, like, Five Nights at Freddy is it.
This is peak Dead by Daylight. It will never have, there's no other license out there that will ever bring this much attention. Like, Resident Evil was the closest, obviously, because Resident Evil was huge. But there's, well, I don't even know if Jason, like, if they added Jason, I don't even think that would be, no, it wouldn't. Like, it just, Five Nights at Freddy's, this is Behavior's one chance to at least show people what they're made of, and then
show the guy in the kitchen cooking.
Yeah, like,
because we're gonna get Jason. Like, he's been in games. Like, he's coming. Like, I would probably.
I would bet that he's gonna be here within the 10th or 11th year. He's gonna be here within the 10th or 11th year.
My tinfoil hat is that they already have him, and because they said it takes like 6 to 9 months to make a killer, he's probably just getting saved for next year's anniversary. That's my tinfoil hat, my copium.
I mean, that was always my thought too. Was Jason has to be the 10-year anniversary killer, because that would be huge. That would be huge. Jason is like super, like probably the most iconic slasher,
and he's like Behavior's white whale. They basically said that themselves. It's like, that's the guy right there.
Yeah, that he trust me, you are that guy, pal. You are that guy.
He is that guy, pal. He is that guy.
Yeah. But no, it really does come down to this though with Five Nights at Freddy's. If the chapter is buggy, has a ton of issues, it will decrease how long this game will last, because the thing is, they really need people to, that's why I totally understand why they're doing all these insane accessibility, like, changes and systems, coming into the game, very soon. It's because they know that they need to have a good impression on all of these people that are going to be playing the game. They need to be able to come to the game and go, wow, this game is really fun. I really enjoy this. Like, I enjoy what this game has
$100 on Dead by Daylight. All glory to Behavior.
Yeah. I will say though, if DBD was a free to play game, this chapter would probably break like
half a million,
400K, maybe even 500K players. But yeah, no, it's I think if Behavior was smart, I think they would make the game $5 during the anniversary. They'd be like, yeah, game's $5,
or even like a free weekend or something.
I don't know if they want to do that again. I mean, even though I would totally be down for that, but I know they're very like hesitant because of all the hackers. They make a bajillion all their accounts.
I didn't mean like give away the game. I meant like you can play it for free during those like 2 days.
No, you're right. Yeah, no. I agree with
like
that.
A test run type deal. Not like, hey hackers, you want 300 more accounts?
Yeah, no, 100. Yeah, no, that a free. I think like a free week during the anniversary, and then just making the game cost $5. That would be insane, because the people are gonna go and buy Springtrap. See, the one thing that sucks though, that I think I don't know if Behavior, like, I feel bad for them because they're putting themselves in such a big predicament by not having a survivor. I think the only reason they should have added a survivor for this chapter for Five Nights at Freddy's is because of the fact it's going to affect queue times that there's no survivor. Like, there's no survivor perks. There's just a killer, which means that everybody's going to play killer. Everyone is going to play killer. Queue times are going to be half an hour long. And people who come to the game, I think that's something they should have made very clear with Scott, was, hey, we're trying to have a good impression with your chapter 2. And I know there is no true survivor of Five Nights at Freddy's, because the survivor is the player.
Yeah.
But I think they should have really considered trying to be like, hey, we should probably literally out of Survivor, because if not, it's not even about like money or whatever. It's because literally everyone is going to play killer. No one's going to be able to get into killer games because everyone's going to be playing killer, and it's going to affect what people think about the chapter, because they're going to be like, bro, we can't even play the game. Like, we can't even play the game.
Yeah. And thank you for wording it so eloquently, but speaking of not even playing the game, can't play the game, what would be like your last straw? What would make you, for better or for worse, what would make you drop Pinhead completely, forever, for good, quit him, maybe even quit Dead by Daylight? What would be it for you?
It's hard to say, but like I would drop Pinhead if they just did some ridiculous rework to him. You know, they're like, okay, we're changing the way the M2 works, we're removing box logic. I mean, if he just got some insanely stupid rework, then yeah, like I'd quit playing Pinhead. Would I quit playing DVD? No, but I would quit Pinhead, because like I said, right now I really do feel like he's in a overall very good spot. There's a very few minor things I would personally want changed, but overall I think he's in a pretty good spot. But if they were just like, yeah, we're gonna nerf this, and you know, or if they just started giving him a bunch of nerfs too, if they were basically like, yeah, he's a pub stomper, we're gonna tailor to the crybabies and just like make it like, then I would probably quit him and be like, yeah, no, I'm just gonna, you know, because I have other killers I play Billy, I play Slinger, I play Singularity, I play Ghoul, all that stuff. So yeah,
Barring a full rework, you're sticking with him.
Yeah, no, and like I said, like they'd have to pretty much just kind of destroy the killer in order for me to not, you know, main him anymore. But I don't think they do that. So
all right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. That's kind of all I have for you here. That's the whole thing. I appreciate your, like, you know, taking time out of your day to talk to me about Pinhead, for coming on the series. You know, it's been real cool.
Yeah, no problem. Glad I could answer your questions, man. I always love doing stuff like this. It's fun.
Hell yeah. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been here, you know, listening, watching, keeping up with the series, and for all the support. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, noon, morning, evening, or night. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you for being here, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.